that someone trusted knows. It fills the corners first, and then the middle of the room, and I breathe a little easier inside the settling gloom. The night keeps my secrets, and it always has. It was there for everything I couldn't say in the day's jazz. The night keeps my secrets without a single word. The most loyal kind of confidence is the kind that's never heard. Told the night things that would change the way you see this face. Things that happened in the before, the irrecoverable place. The night absorbed them all the way a river takes the rain. Without judgment, without flinching, without asking to explain. There's a man who visits doctors for the weight inside his chest. There's a man who visits churches for the things he can't digest. I visit neither. When the heaviness arrives, I open up the window and I let the dark inside. The night keeps my secrets. It has earned the right to know. I gave it every version of the things I couldn't show. My secrets laid there, I'm in the deep, far between the breathing and the reaching before sleep. Grandfather sat on the porch in the final years of his long after grandmother was gone, and the children lived their biz. We asked him what he thought about out there in the dark and cold. He said he was just continuing a conversation old. He'd been talking to the night since before our names were given, since the factory in the war had left him quietly riven. And the night had talked back, not in words but in the air, in the particular quality of darkness that says I'm here, I'm here. The night keeps my secrets, and my grandfather's as well. Needs a place where the unspeakable can dwell. The night keeps my secrets, it's older than my sin. And when I'm gone, the night will keep on keeping what I've been. I never was the kind, the dark was always where I went to find what I'd been trying to find. In the bright and busy hours, everything performs its part, but the dark is where the real things settle at the heart. The dark is where I love you in the version you don't show. The dark is where I grieve him the way the living rarely go. The dark is where I've made every honest choice that mattered. The dark stayed beside you through the worst. It never needed to be one. The night keeps my secrets and will keep them after me. When this voice is finally finished and this body is set free, the night keeps my secrets soft and absolute and true. The most loyal kind of confidence is the kind that's never hurt. I've told the night things that would change the way you see this face, things that happened in the before, the irrecoverable place. The night absorbed them all the way a river takes the rain, without judgment, without flinching, without asking to explain. There's a man who visits doctors for the weight inside his chest, that was there for everything I couldn't say in the day's jazz. The night keeps my secrets without a single word. The most loyal kind of confidence, the kind that's never hurt. I've told the night things that would change the way you see this face, things that happened in the before, the irrecoverable place. The night absorbed them all the way a river takes the rain, without judgment, without flinching, without asking to explain. There's a man who visits doctors for the weight inside his chest. There's a man who visits churches for the things he can't digest. I remember every room that fell to silence when I entered, every table that got careful, every verdict that was centered on the version of me made from the story that they told. I took notes, I took extensive notes, and let my patience hold. Because I was never what they filed me, as I was never the conclusion of their math. I was always something moving in a different direction. I was always the approach and aftermath. I am the storm I warned you about, the one you saw on the horizon and chose to doubt. I am the storm I warned you about. This is what the distance looked like before it came out. That teaches you to be invisible, from the kind of people deemed by other people inadmissible. I learned the rooms, I learned the language, learned to read the air. I walked into the spaces that were never meant to have me there. And I was quiet, you mistake that for uncertain. You mistake the stillness for a man behind the curtain. But the stillness was a choice that I was making every morning. The storm was always present, I was simply giving warning. I am the storm I warned you about. I told you in the plainest terms, you chose to ride it out. I am the storm I warned you about. I didn't hide a single thing, you just weren't looking out. Decided things without including me, drew the maps of where I'd live and how I'd come to be. I sat outside those rooms for years and I learned every voice. I learned the weight of every word and the architecture of choice. And when the door finally opened, not because they let me, because I built a different door, I think it's fair to say they bet me against every odd they'd manufactured for my kind. I walked in carrying you figure that one out. Let me be completely clear about what I am and what I am not. I am not angry. Anger is for people who still need the other person's acknowledgement. I am not bitter. Bitter is for people who wanted a different outcome. I am exactly what happens when you underestimate someone for long enough. I am the compound interest of every year you thought I wasn't watching, and every room you thought I wasn't ready for. I am the storm I warned you about. I sent the weather ahead. I was considerate about it. You had about me filled my tank up without doubt. I am the storm I warned you about. I am standing in the middle of the thing you said I'd never find out. I am the storm, I am the storm I warned you about.
I've called out every name I know at 3 o'clock in the morning. I've tried the front door and the back. I've tried without the warning. I've left the light on for him, like the parable suggests, but the house stays dark and quiet while the doubt does all the rest. God only works the day shift. That's the conclusion I've reached. When the sky is full of mercy and the sermon can be preached, God only works the day shift. Between the 9 and 5 of hope, but the 3 a.m. is nobody's, and a man is left to cope. I've watched good people carry weight that should have been distributed. I've watched the cruel get comfortable, the merciful get disputed. I've sat beside the beds of men who asked for some accounting, and the silence that returned to them was absolute and mounting. Now I'm not a bitter man, believe me when I say I've seen enough of grace to know it visits in the day. When the children laugh, when the wound heals, when the unexpected beauty arrives unwrapped and undeserved, I feel the weight of duty. God only works the day shift, but the night is 9 hours long, and the night is where the broken go to find what's going wrong. God only works the day shift. Somebody fill the gap between the last prayer of the evening and the light coming back. men who claim the night shift, men with collars and with robes, men who said the dark was covered. I've examined all their probes, and I found that what they offered for the 3 a.m. abyss was a pamphlet and a promise and a morning service list. I met women who survived the night through nothing but themselves, through the sheer and bloody-minded will that nobody else compels. They didn't cite a chapter and they didn't name a verse. They just held on through the howling and came out the worst. And I say the worst because the night leaves marks, let's be exact. The ones who make it through alone don't come back fully intact. And whatever God is working, day shift, night shift, or between, might consider sending something for the hours in between. God only works the day shift. That's not anger, that's a note from the people in the darkness with their hands around their throat. God only works the day shift, and we understand he's tired. But the ones who need him most are the ones by dark conspired. I wanna be wrong about this, I genuinely do. I want the 3 a.m. to hold something more than residue. I want the dark to have an answer, not a pamphlet or a sign, just a presence in the quiet that can hold what can't be mine. I've got no anger left for heaven, just this long and tired request. Could somebody cover nights so the rest of us can rest? God only works the day shift. God only works the day shift, but the night is where we live. God only works the day shift. God only works the day shift, and the night is so much to give. Someone cover the night shift, someone answer the 3 a.m. Someone sit with the broken ones and bring them back again. Gave him the knife myself. That's what I need you to understand. I laid it on the table and I placed it in his hand. I said, use this when you need it. It was made by someone true. It was handed down through seasons, and I'm handing it to you. He took it without ceremony, the way the trust is taken, without the weight of knowing what the giving has mistaken. He put it in his pocket and he thanked me with his eyes, and I felt the warmth of having been believed without disguise. The ballad of the trusted knight, the oldest kind of song, about the blade you sharpened for a brother all alone. The ballad of the trusted knight, it always finds its way back into the body of the hand that gave away. We built our thing together from the nothing we were handed. In the years when being nothing was precisely where we landed. We shared the cold November and the mathematics of survival. We shared the early warnings and the absence of revival. I knew his children's names before his children knew their names. I sat beside him through the lowest of his lowest shames, and he was there for mine. At least I lived as if he were, until the evidence assembled into something I couldn't blur. The ballad of the trusted knife. I turned it in my head. I saw my own reflection in it. Finally understand the ballad of the trusted knife. It teaches only one. You know a man completely only after it is done. I didn't rage. That's the part that surprised me most of all. I sat inside the information and I let it fall. The way you sit inside a room when news arrives of death, you just absorb the fact of it with your very next breath. I thought of everything we built and let myself feel proud of what two men from nothing made before the breaking crowd. And then I thought of him and felt remarkably a pity that he was the kind of man who'd burn a thing that pretty. The ballad of the trusted knife. I've forgiven every part, not for his sake, let me be precise, but for the sake of my own heart. The ballad of the trusted knife. The wound healed to a line, and the line reminds me every morning what was his and what was mine. If you have someone who you'd give the knife to without thinking, who you trust completely in the dark, without blinking, hold that rarer than the gold, hold it rarer than the title, hold it rarer than the victory. It is more vital, because the men who would betray you aren't the strangers at the gate. They're the ones who know your name and how you take your plate. They're the ones who know the weakness, not from watching but from care. The trusted knife is always sharpest, because you help put the edge there. I still have the knife, I kept it. That's the ending, you deserve it. Hangs above the mantle where I keep the things that serve as monuments to learning and the cost of what I know, as reminders of the temperature at which the true things show. I don't keep it out of bitterness, I keep it out of clarity. The cleanest education sometimes comes through rarity. The ballad of the trusted knife is not a song of hate, it's a song about the price of being open and being great. The ballad of the trusted knife, the oldest kind of song. The blade you made for brotherhood was never yours for long. photographs on a Saturday in October. I didn't do it angry, I did it cold and sober. I watched your face dissolve into the chemistry of ash, and found it unexpectedly, extraordinarily vast. Everything burns beautifully if you let it go all the way. Everything burns beautifully in the dying of the day. Everything burns beautifully, the thing you built from fear. Everything burns beautifully, especially what you held most dear. I burned the version of myself I built to be acceptable, the careful and the qualified, the cautiously respectful. I stripped it off like a coat that never really kept me warm, and fed it to the firelight, and stood there in the storm. I burned the promises I made before I understood the weight. I burned the careful silence and the fear of being late. I burned the second chances that I kept for keeping sake, and what was left was smaller but completely awake. Everything burns beautifully if the fire's true enough. Everything burns beautifully, the tender and the tough. Everything burns beautifully, watch the color of the light. Everything burns beautifully, especially in the night. To find the house was not the way she'd left it. She walked through every empty room and looked a little bereft in it. I told her I had changed the architecture, cleared the old debris. She stood there in the middle of the space and couldn't see me, because the man she came back to return to wasn't stored here anymore. I burned the storage in the autumn, swept it out the door, not from anger, please believe that, not from wishing her the worst. But everything burns beautifully once you learn to go in first. Everything burns beautifully, the history and the hope. Everything burns beautifully, the wound, the scar, the rope. Everything burns beautifully, what we were afraid to lose. Everything burns beautifully when burning is the thing you choose. I'm not telling you to burn what's worth the keeping. I'm not telling you the fire doesn't cost. I'm telling you that some things only find their beauty in the moment when they're finally, honestly lost. The painting that's been covered, the voice that's been suppressed, the version of yourself you buried under layers of what's best. Sometimes the most loving thing, the most courageous and the true, is to strike the match deliberately and let the fire find you. I burned the photographs on a Saturday in October. I didn't do it angry, I did it cold and sober. I burned the photographs on a Saturday in October. I didn't do it angry, I did it cold and sober. I burned the photographs on a Saturday in October. I didn't do it angry, I did it cold and sober. I burned the photographs on a Saturday in October. I didn't do it angry, I did it cold and sober. I burned the photographs on a Saturday in October. I didn't do it angry, I did it cold and sober. I burned the photographs on a Saturday in October. I didn't do it angry, I did it cold and sober. I burned the photographs on a Saturday in October. I didn't do it angry, I did it cold and sober. I burned the photographs on a Saturday in October. I didn't do it angry, I did it cold and sober. I burned the photographs on a Saturday in October. I didn't do it angry, I did it cold and sober. I burned the photographs on a Saturday in October. I didn't do it angry, I did it cold and sober. I burned the photographs on a Saturday in October. I didn't do it angry, I did it cold and sober. I burned the photographs on a Saturday in October.
I've been aware of you since I was 17, standing just behind me in the spaces in between. You never introduced yourself, you didn't have to bother. I recognized your patience from the patience of my father. Devil, don't rush me, I'm almost ready now. I just need one more reason and I'll figure out the how. Devil, don't rush me, I can feel you at the door. I've been almost finished with this life before. Devil, don't rush me. Devil, don't rush me. I've got things I haven't broken yet, people I haven't let down yet, songs I haven't ruined yet. Devil, not just yet. I've been in rooms with men who made their peace too early, who folded up their cards and left the table looking surly. I always swore I'd play until the dealer pulled the deck, but here you are behind me, breathing something on my neck. Devil, don't rush me, I still owe a few a debt or two of kindness. I've been meaning to come through. Devil, don't rush me, give me till the spring. There's a woman I should have loved and a song I shouldn't sing. Yeah, devil, don't rush me. Devil, don't rush me. I've got things I haven't broken yet, people I haven't let down yet, songs I haven't finished yet. Devil, not just yet. was meant to. It's just that every time I turn around, there's something worth the detour, something worth the delay, something worth one more day. Devil, don't rush me. I'm almost ready now. I just need one more reason, and I'll figure out the how. Devil, don't rush me. I can feel you at the door. I've been almost finished with this life before. Devil, don't rush me. Devil, don't rush me. I've got things I haven't broken yet, people I haven't let down yet, songs I haven't finished yet. Devil, not just yet. Not just yet. The last chimney fell on a Tuesday without ceremony. Nobody came to watch it. The council sent a notice only. 30 years of smoking iron folded into dust, and the men who built their lives beside it swallowed it in trust. The last industry standing now is grief, and grief don't need a factory. Grief just needs belief. The last industry running day and night, and every man who worked the floor and never saw the light. My father's hands were monuments to what this city made. His palms were like the paving stones laid down and never raised. He never spoke of pride directly. That was not his kind. But the industry was in him, like a river in its mind. The last industry crumbling at the seam between the men who built this country and the men who sold the dream. The last industry, I'm standing at the gate where the workers left their decades in exchange for someone's fate.
fathers and the children left behind. The last chimney fell on a Tuesday, and the sky looked almost clean. And I hated it, God help me, for the emptiness between.
Let me pour one last glass before the dark comes in for real, before the night stops being atmosphere and starts being the feel. Let me sit a little longer in the last edge of the light. One last glass before the dark, and then I'll face the night. I'm not afraid exactly, it's more like I'm not ready. The way a diver waits above the water, keeping steady, not from cowardice, but from the sacredness of the last breath, before you break the surface and surrender to the depth. One last glass before the dark, one last song before the silence, one last look before the curtain, one last word before the dark. Here's to everyone who almost made it, almost doesn't count. Here's to every well we dug before we knew the well without a mount. Here's to what we built in the wrong season with the wrong pair of hands. Here's to understanding too late what the other person plans. Here's to the young man I was before the young man understood. Here's to all the nights I stayed too long because the feeling was too good. Here's to every scar that's healed to something I can almost live beside. And here's to what I still don't know, the vast and patient tide. One last glass before the dark, one last name before the forgetting, one last fire before the morning, one last glass before the dark. Its gutters and its gold, I've loved the broken parts, especially the broken parts. One last glass before the dark, let it be a long one. One last song before the silence, let it be an honest one. One last look at everything I was before I closed the door. One last glass before for any of it.
The undertaker waltzes with his customers alone in the quiet after closing, when the parlor sets the tone. 3/4 time, 3/4 time, the only dance he knows. Learned it from his father, who learned it where the stillness goes. He doesn't mind the silence, says it's better than most conversation. Says the dead are honest partners, no pretense, no hesitation. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, across the cold stone floor, dancing with the weight of everything that breathing was before. The undertaker's waltz, come take his hand. He'll lead you through the measures he's too practiced to withstand. The undertaker's waltz, grace in every step, the dance between the living and the permanent and kept. I watched him from the doorway on a November evening late. He didn't know I'd come back for my father's watch and plate. He was waltzing in the half-light with a stillness in his arms, and I understood for the first time, death has its own charms. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, we'll all get to the floor. The undertaker's patient, he's danced this dance before. The undertaker's waltz, and when my time arrives, I hope he plays the waltz the way that darkness best survives.
left it in the field. You thought that distance was enough to keep the everything concealed. You built a new address, a new name, a new face for Sunday. But fire doesn't need an invitation. It finds you on a Monday. The fire remembers what you burned and what survived the burning. The fire remembers every room you fled without returning. The fire remembers it has always kept your name. You can move 1,000 miles and still arrive back to the flame. The fire remembers. The fire remembers. You can't unlight a thing that's been alive. The fire remembers. The fire remembers. There is no dark that hides from its own. She thought she shut the chapter on the chapter she'd been writing. She thought a new beginning was a consequence of choosing. But the ink from every sentence bleeds straight through to the next page, and you carry every version of yourself right through every age. The fire remembers what you said when no one else was listening. The fire remembers every promise made in the glistening. The fire remembers, and it carries no resentment. It just burns the way it always has, without a need for judgment. A single thing, but the past remembers everything.
I did not stumble into this. I walked in with open eyes. I signed no deed, I shook no hand. I told no careful lies. I simply chose the only road that matched the shape of me, and the road led here to everything I am and cannot flee. The weight of earned sin sits different on the spine. crush the way that guilt does. It just redefines the weight of earned sin. Familiar as a coat, worn so long you stop noticing the pressure at your throat. A priest once told me I could lay it down if I believed. I looked at him and understood he'd never truly grieved. Because the weight is not a punishment, it's proof that I was here, that I was real, that I survived the truth. The weight of earned sin, I carry it to bed. It sleeps between the living half of me and all the dead. The weight of earned sin, I've stopped asking for relief. There's a kind of filthy comfort in a well-familiar grief. I did not stumble into this. I want that understood. I would not trade the man I am for any easier good. The weight of earned sin, let it press me to the ground. It's the only honest testimony that I've ever found. He never raised his voice across the 30 years I knew him. He never threw a thing, he never needed to pursue it. He simply looked at people with a certain kind of stillness, and they did exactly what he wanted, out of no illness. Quiet men are dangerous. They've processed what they feel. They've had the conversation in their head and it was real. Quiet men are dangerous. They've already made the choice. The loudest thing about them is the absence of their voice.
She asked me once why I went cold instead of burning. I told her cold is simply what you get when fire stops performing. The rage didn't leave, it learned to live in lower temperatures, and low temperatures sustain. That's what eventually severs. Quiet men are dangerous, they smile right at the end. They've made their peace with consequences that they cannot bend. Quiet men are dangerous, I know, because I am. The storm you didn't notice until everything was calm. Watch the quiet ones, watch the quiet ones, not the men who shake the walls. Watch the ones who hold them up. Watch the quiet ones, watch the quiet ones. It's never the explosion, it's the slow and steady cut. I was angry, I said no, I was precise. He nodded like he understood, he's learning the device. Quiet men are dangerous, we tend to raise our kind, a dynasty of stillness, with a revolution inside. Quiet men are dangerous. The history of everything was written by the quiet ones. I've been lighting little fires since before I learned your name. Not for warmth, not for signal, just to watch the way they came. There's a science to destruction that the careful men don't teach, about how fast a thing surrenders once the flame is in its reach. Matches and mercy, I only carry one. The other I left somewhere in the damage I have done. Matches and mercy, you think they both run out, but the matches keep on coming, and the mercy I have doubt. She asked me once why I always sat with my back to the wall. I told her it was habit, and she didn't press it all.
It's the thing that keeps me clear, a controlled and necessary burning of the things I hold too near. Matches in mercy, ask me which I keep. Mercy is for mornings, matches help me sleep. Took them to the yard before the autumn lost the light. Every envelope still sealed with the wax you pressed at night. I didn't read them, that's the part that I can't justify. I burned them in a pile the way you'd burn a perfect lie. Every word you wrote becoming smoke without a name. Letters I burned in the yard, I watched until the end, until the paper and the feeling and the ink refused to send. I didn't open them, I've asked myself for years. Maybe knowing what they said would cost me something worse than tears. There's a mercy in not knowing what you almost had from someone. Better keep the dream intact than read the truth and come undone. The ash went with the wind, scattered over everything the neighborhood had pinned. Letters I burned in the yard, I've built a life on naught. But some nights the smoke comes back to me from something I forgot. Letters I burned in the yard. Tell me, was I wrong to choose the warmth of burning over reading all along? I've been wearing black so long, I've forgotten other colors. I've been burning fewer bridges. I've been running out of brothers. I've been sleeping on the left side of a bed that once had two. I've been wearing black so long, it stopped being about you. I've been wearing black so long, the neighbors stopped their mourning, stopped bringing food on Sundays, stopped their careful morning warning. I've been wearing black so long, they assumed I just preferred it. I let them keep assuming it was easier than words did. I've been wearing black so long, I've been wearing black so long, that the grief became a wardrobe, and the wardrobe became home. I've been wearing black so long, I've been wearing black so long, that I can't quite remember what I looked like before the cold. Tried on something lighter once, a gray, almost a blue. Stood before the mirror for an hour, trying to break through. But the man who looked back at me was someone I'd invented, and I folded up the gray again, relieved and disappointed. I've been wearing black so long, the tailor knows my measure. He asks me how I'm keeping, and he charges me with pleasure. He never says a word about the fact it's always black, and I pay him for the silence. And I'll never take it back. I've been wearing black so long, I've been wearing black so long, that the seasons stop mattering and summer feels like stone. I've been wearing black so long, I've been wearing black so long, that I think if I removed it now, there'd be nothing, only bone.